On today's edition, I want to continue to talk about how we might be a 12 in the lives of the people that are part of our sphere of influence. I'm taken by one Old Testament example of one who was truly a 12. And I'm thinking of none other than Abraham's great-grandson, Joseph, one of the 12 sons of Jacob. And it was Joseph, you will recall, who was sold into slavery in Egypt by his 11 brothers. And it wasn't a pretty sight. It was not a good thing for young Joseph at all. But I am amazed at how he didn't allow the bad in his life to dictate the good in his future. Joseph, when he arrived in Egypt, went to work for a man by the name of Potiphar. Potiphar was someone who had a good position in the city, and yet he had a wife who was not such a good woman. She falsely accused Joseph of attempting to seduce her when she was the one doing the seducing. Of course, her husband believed his wife and put Joseph in jail, where he remained for some 15 years. He sensed the presence of God. That's one thing that I love about the way the Bible references God's abiding presence. Even while Joseph was being mistreated and falsely jailed, the Lord was with him. Eventually, he's released. He's used in the life of Pharaoh to interpret dreams. Pharaoh is so impressed with Joseph that he gives him a high position. There's a famine that is taking over the Middle East, and Joseph is put in charge of food distribution, both within the country and for those from outlying areas that come seeking help. One of those groups of people that come to Egypt seeking help in the midst of this famine are the brothers of Joseph. Here now, it's decades later. And as the brothers of Joseph come, he recognizes them. Of course, they don't recognize him because he looks like one of Pharaoh's sons. He's dressed accordingly in what we picture Pharaoh and court to be wearing, quite unlike those sheep herders and livestock managers that Jacob's sons look like. So Joseph recognizes them. They don't recognize him. What is he? He is the 12 to the 11. It's a wonderful chapter there, Genesis chapter 40 and following, chapter 43 in particular, where Joseph as the 12 is deeply moved by seeing those from whom he's been separated for all these years. He's homesick. He misses his dad. He misses his younger brother, Benjamin, in particular. And he, like a 12, comes to the rescue and provides for the 11 what they can't do all by themselves. Just like the 12s of the Seahawks. They do for the team what the team is not capable, left alone to their own devices, to do on the field. The 12 fill in what is missing. And Joseph does exactly that. He sends them back with grain to feed their livestock, to feed their extended family, which has grown to be quite a multitude of people by this time. And it's the 12 who not only nourishes them by providing them what they need, it's Joseph who offers forgiveness to them. By this time, he comes clean. He acknowledges who he is. The brothers are a bit fearful about how Joseph might seek revenge and retaliate, but this 12 of the Old Testament goes to the 11, and he says, what you intended for evil, God intended for good. That's how God got me here to Egypt and allowed me to go through some of these hard experiences in my life so that I might win the favor of Pharaoh and reach a place where I could be a person of influence that could feed the descendants of Abraham, to keep them alive so that God's purpose for his people might come to pass. You intended it for evil. God meant it for good. I forgive you. They weep together. It's a beautiful story. You know, the animated story of the Prince of Egypt, which is the story of Moses. I wish that they would come up with something that was just as magnificent on the life of Joseph and bring that to life on the big screen for our children and our grandchildren to be able to watch with appropriate musical interludes, much like the Prince of Egypt. Pixar, Disney, whoever. I just hope that the story of Joseph, the 12th man in the Old Testament, his story is told. Well, let's think about that. If Joseph could be that for his brothers, who might we be for those in our extended family who are maybe holding a grudge or fearful about what we might do or say based upon how we've been mistreated by them in years gone by? Could we set the example by clearing the slate, making peace? There in Romans chapter 12, speaking of 12s, it says, "For as much as it depends on you, live at peace with all people." As a 12, what steps might we take today to help erase some of the conflict of the past and extend an olive branch to those with whom we might not have the best relationship? Yes, even as followers of Jesus, and even within families, it's possible for there to be tensions and unresolved conflict. In my 10 years as a chaplain at that faith-based retirement community on Mercer Island, one of the most difficult things for me in my job was to plan a memorial service or a funeral for an individual on campus, a resident, and discover that family members of the deceased don't speak to each other. And they sit on either side of the aisle. They can't sit together. It's a heartbreaking experience. Don't let that happen for you. And it may not even be having to seek forgiveness or ask forgiveness. Maybe being a 12 for you today simply means providing what those people in your life need. In the case of Joseph and his 11 brothers, the 12th man needed to provide them with food. And maybe for you and those who are coming to mind as I share this thought today, maybe it is somebody that could use a casserole or a gift card or a DoorDash card, something that would provide nourishment for someone who finds it a little bit more difficult to cook for themselves. Or like my daughter, who with her husband have a little boy born prematurely in the hospital, and for months now they depend upon those with caring hearts to help provide food for them because they're rarely at home. For those of you that have done that, I want to thank you on behalf of Lauren and Scotty. They really appreciate it. It's been a blessing.